Hey everybody, how are you today? Facebook Live, we're going to be talking about the functions of the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is running all through commercial literature, doctor literature. It is without question a conversation piece. The vagus nerve is the largest of your cranial nerves. Your vagus nerve is what we call your rest and digest nerve. So what happens is, if there's any kind of damage that decreases the tone of your vagus nerve, you're going to have digestion problems. You're going to want to regurgitate. Most injuries make you what we call sympathetic. And with that being said, the sympathetic nervous system goes high. The parasympathetic, which is a very common system, goes low. The captain of the parasympathetic system is the vagus nerve. So that vagus nerve now is a critical element to overall modulate some specific nervous systems like the autonomic nervous system. It is without question what we said before, your rest and digest nerve. Yeah, and your vagus nerve is a critical element in sensing your overall bacteria and probiotics and speaking to your brain. So your vagus nerve is the critical element between your gut and your brain, the bi-directional communication. It's a fascinating concept. I'm reading so many places where medical doctors are trying to have and do something with what we call vagus nerve stimulation. So what we do in our office is we use the corneal laser to stimulate the vagus nerve with the violet light. So that's a key takeaway. But I want to go over the science, and I want to talk about what happens when you can stimulate the vagus nerve, because there was a great study out in they didn't write it down. It just came out in Stroke in 2018 by vagus nerve stimulation and all the positive properties that happen when you stimulate it. Just want to dial it back one notch and go over what the vagus nerve does. The vagus nerve is afferent and efferent. Afferent is going to the brain, efferent is going away. 90% of the vagus nerve is afferent. It's very sensory. So it's interesting. The anatomy of the vagus nerve is that it attaches to the outside of the intestinal tract. It doesn't go on the inside. So as I said before, it senses the bacteria. So if you have a lot of bad bacteria, the communication between the gut and the brain is going to be deleterious, adverse. It also, the vagus nerve, as we go over here, starts in the gut, if you will, at what we call the transverse colon. It goes up all the way through the brain and goes to what we call the medulla oblongata. Joanne's laughing because whenever I tell my patients with the medulla oblongata, we think of the Adam Sandler film, The Water Boy, and with Colonel Sanders, medulla oblongata. Yes, it's that same Joanne, medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata back down to the transverse colon. So here is this bi-directional nerve. So interesting, remember it's attaching to the outside, it's not inside the transverse colon, so it's sensing. It also is the key to inflammation. It can increase inflammation by getting shut down. It can decrease inflammation by picking up its tone. It's a nerve for satiety or a feeling of fullness. So when the vagus nerve is working well, it's signaling to your brain you're full, so you don't gouge, you don't eat, you don't pig out. So the satiety and satiation are together, and it's truly an energy metabolism nerve in that, once again, you're not going to need to eat too much. It's that bi-directional communicator between your gut and your brain. So interestingly enough, that's what's going on the way from the gut up to the brain. On the way back down, efferent, you're getting secretions of gastric acid and digestive enzymes, and you're getting gastric capacity. So that's 10% of the vagus nerve. People who have concussions obviously get their head hit. They go very sympathetic. Their parasympathetics get shut down. They are unable to have gastric secretions. Many people who have concussions lead down a path of getting SIBO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. One of the biggest reasons is the decreased tone. Other literature on the vagus nerve has said that a decreased tone of the vagus nerve has led you down the path of being IBD, irritable bowel disease, or irritable bowel syndrome. So stimulating, getting vagus nerve stimulation, proper tone, is a critical element. Also, because the gut speaks to the brain, and actually now they're finding that the gut is really telling the brain how to act, or is a major player in depressive type of disorders. We also see PTSD, major depression, and psychiatric problems can be caused or can be decreased because of vagus nerve stimulation. In addition, vagus nerve stimulation or activity, one, you want to stimulate it. You can do it with nutritive components, relaxation, and once again, laser. So the nutritive components that we found to be very, very effective are clearly good food. If your soil is rich in nutrients, which none of our soils are anymore, you can really get a lot of good quality food. So the best way to remember is if your food comes from a plant, you can eat it. If it's made in a plant, don't eat it. And again, the laser. So I do a lot of laser work here. Again, the Erconia EVRL, or Erconia Violet Red Light Laser. I use the violet laser with the 405 wavelength to stimulate the vagus nerve. It's actually a patented move that I created last year, and the outcomes have been outstanding. They really help with a lot of gastrointestinal upset, helping a lot with the gut-to-brain axis, and it's a critical element in getting over some of these compulsive disorders and concussions. And finally, we spoke about it before, the inflammatory GI disorders. You got ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, all falling under the umbrella of IBD. So I want to speak to the study that really propelled me to want to talk about the vagus nerve today. And here we go. So the functions of the vagus nerve, as we talked about, this was in Stroke in January 25th, 2018. They used vagus nerve stimulation. They paired it with rehab training. It increased synaptic connectivity in motor networks post-stroke. So what they found out by stimulating the vagus nerve and getting people to move, there was a triple the number of synaptic connectors from motor cortex to the muscles in the forelimb and forearm compared to rehab alone. So if you just did rehab, you improved. If you did rehab with vagus nerve stimulation, you improve the synaptic, your synapses, the connections in your brain 3 times. Doubled the long-lasting recovery on complex tasks paired with vagus nerve stimulation. So a harder task, it was twice. So again, rehab worked, but rehab worked better when you got vagus nerve stimulation. And it enhanced structural plasticity with motor networks. So what you're seeing is a tremendous outcome that rehab helps with stroke, but vagus nerve stimulation is a critical element. Medical models, vagus nerve stimulation, kind of interesting, a little different than I recommend. Ours is quite effective. If you see this, synaptic improvement, great option. Vagus nerve stimulation is here to stay. You're going to see a lot about the vagus nerve in the future in all the literature, all the commercial like Cosmo and things like that. We on the lecture circuit, we're speaking a lot about it. Joanne, did anybody ask any questions? Or did we have already questions that people had sent in that knew what we were going to talk about?
No, you just had Dr. Ralph who mentioned he lectured on this a few hours ago. So
wow. Hey, Dr. Ralph, how are you? I hope it's as warm up there as it is down here. And vagus nerve, without question. I mean, this is, for lack of a better term, this is chiropractic and functional medicine. This is where we should live. You're not going to fix people's gut without also working with the vagus nerve. So I do a lot of functional medicine. I'm a functional medicine practitioner. If I don't stimulate the vagus nerve, and I found the laser to be the best way, you're really not going to get the kind of response that you are looking for, certainly not as quickly. And this is evidenced by that. In addition, a lot of people ask me, and I'm happy if you want to know, you can review. I'll definitely put up an additional video if you guys want to see me. It's a 30-second protocol to get the vagus nerve stimulated, or come to one of my seminars. I'm always willing to share that with you. Any other questions? No, we started a little late today. I got stuck in traffic. I'm really sorry. So, guys, my webcast, we already filmed a few. We will be starting a week from next Thursday on July 19th. Dr. Jacob Hardin, big shout out to him. He did a great job on rehab. You can come see it. Why don't you, one, like, click, and share this. Make a comment. Talk to me. I'd like to talk to you. In addition, talk to me, ask a question about the vagus nerve, but also let me know who you would like to see.
We do have a question from Herbert. He says, what about the SPM connection? Did Jasmine Dolly write a paper on it?
Yeah, I don't know if Jesmine Dolly wrote a paper on the vagus nerve, and I will take a look at that. But as far as SPMs, without question, SPMs are an outstanding specialized pro-resolving mediators. They allow for resolution of inflammation. I don't know if they have any effect on the vagus nerve. However, with my vagus nerve and brain protocol and gut protocol, SPMs are a standard that I use all the time.
And then Dr. Ralph asked, how long does it take with the tool? I guess with the... How long does it take with the tool?
The tool. So the tool is the corneal laser, the EVRL. It takes me 30 seconds or less, and I'm able to...
No, you had a phone call.
Phone call. We can't have a phone call. We'll get back to you. I promise. A little busy right now. So anyway, guys, we're going to be doing a lot of Facebook Lives every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Thursday, a week from Thursday, we're starting our webcast. Let me know who you'd like to see on the webcast. Any questions? I'm always there.
Oh, you're all set. Dr. Ralph says thanks.
Perfect. Everybody have a great day. Dr. Rob, always yours in health.